The aim of my thesis is to outline a general picture of the phenomenon known as multilingualism, specifically focusing on its development during childhood. The idea to deal with this topic came by chance. My initial aim was to find a topic that dealt with languages, the absolute protagonists of my university studies. I found inspiration through a well-known media platform, TikTok. While surfing on the well-known social networking site, I came across an extraordinary yet quite normal Italian family of four people, a mother, a father, and two little twins. From the content published on their page, it was easy to see how the two children, despite their tender age, were already able to master and understand three different language codes, Italian first, but also English and German. It is therefore from their story, to which I have reserved a section in Chapter 2, that I drew inspiration to write my thesis. After long consideration about the possible topics to be covered, I managed to get in touch with them. They immediately made themselves available to provide me with a real insight into the phenomenon I chose to describe. As far as the structure of the paper is concerned, I initially focused on the neurological, cognitive, and psychological aspects of language acquisition, exploring the mechanisms of multilingual competence in childhood, and also providing some necessary definitions. I presented a number of specific cases, such as the one documented by the scholar Bouquet in 1981. This is one of the first episodes of acquired aphasia in bilingual children to be examined. For this reason, it is extremely important in the field of neurolinguistic research. With regard to this, I have included a thought on the contributions of neuropsychology, cognitive science, and neurolinguistics in multilingual children with language disorders or pathological conditions such as deafness. Moreover, a key concept in this section was that of the monitor, introduced by the American linguist Stephen Krashen, which allows us to get a clear distinction between learning and acquiring a language, and thus to understand how these processes develop within our brains according to the age whenever they show up. Subsequently, I placed the focus of the issue on the multilingual educational choice, which is increasingly common today, that parents or guardians of children may consider. I additionally show familiar case histories, advantages, disadvantages, opinions for and against. What interested me most was trying to understand what language multilinguals think in and how they see the world. This is why I decided to report an interesting theory on bilingualism by the language scholar Maurice van Overbeke. I also argued about possible or best methods that could be used, such as the famous OPOL method or the more recent MLAH. Finally refuting what's shown in various studies conducted in recent years, also thanks to the description of the familiar case mentioned at the beginning. Finally, after describing multilingualism and bilingualism from multiple points of view, I chose to explain how Italy and the European Union have decided to manage this phenomenon, both from a scholastic and from a constitutional point of view, also illustrating some of the initiatives proposed in recent years, such as CLIL, the Erasmus program, and the Erasmus+. While describing the current language situation in Italy, I also analyzed the various levels of school education, paying particular attention to the institutions based on a multilingual and multi-ethnic reality and their relative costs, a factor that should not be overlooked in any family's annual financial budget. In addition, I included a topical case described from a linguistic point of view, the war in Ukraine, describing how Italian educational institutions are dealing with the issue of the inclusion of underage Ukrainian refugees and the consequences, specifically linguistic, that these children are forced to face. I also gave a personal account of the Italian humanitarian school effort underway. Therefore, this thesis not only argues in favor of children's multilingualism, but it also aims at describing at best a phenomenon that is unfortunately still seen as counterproductive for children. I chose to deal with this topic because it immediately inspired and impressed me significantly. I therefore felt it was important to highlight the great personal, cultural, and professional benefits that can result from multilingualism at an early age. The present paper, in light of the discoveries made and the studies conducted, is an addition to all other treatises aimed at disseminating factual information capable of creating and sharing a correct knowledge of the topic, also translating into an invitation to take this kind of education into consideration.